So how many properties does it take to actually retire? This is a question I get a lot, and unfortunately the simple answer is it depends. But here's where the depends goes wrong. You look out for inspiration, you see social media, and you're probably looking at videos like this, and you go and see someone with 20 properties, 10 properties, 100 million, 50 million, 10 million, and you think, wow, so inspirational. That person knows what they're talking about. I should do what they did. But that's where it all goes wrong, because no two people, no two strategies, no two goals are the same. You could have a single person trying to build a portfolio in their 20s. You could have a couple in their 30s. You could have a mature couple in their 40s with a couple of kids. Maybe no kids. You could have someone receive some inheritance, someone starting and growing a business, someone with a successful business, or you could have a corporate, high-flying, high-income earner on a portfolio already and they just want to get it right. You see, that's why it depends. But here's one thing I can promise you. It doesn't take 10 properties. It doesn't take 20 properties, and it sure as hell doesn't take you looking at all this inspiration, including the inspiration that my wife and I have from having $20 million in assets. That doesn't really matter, because it's all a different target, a different age, a different number. So how do you know what actually matters? Well, this is what I'm going to show you. This that you're seeing in front of you is called portfolio planning. And so what that means is we're actually figuring out where you are, where is it that you want to go, and trying to bridge the gap of getting there. Now, it's really important to note this. We don't talk about shares. We don't talk about investing with financial products. We simply map out property in a generic way on mapping tools, which means when it comes to financial advice, that's not something we can give you. But you can go and build your team around you of financial advisors. But then there's the catch that they don't like to talk about property. So that leaves you in a weird position. So still, it's important to go and get your financial advice, but at the same time, it's important to know what works when it comes to portfolio strategy. So when it comes to portfolio strategy, my name's Arjun Paliwal, and I'm the CEO of InvestorKit. We're actually voted Australia's most innovative buyers agencies from a residential buyers agency perspective. We're actually also finalists for the most innovative commercial buyers agency by REB in 2025. Now, when it comes to innovation shouldn't be about all the cool tools and tech and things that we can do. We do that pretty well. But it's actually about what your portfolio can innovate to actually reach your goals. So I've laid out 6 strategies here. Now, if any of these strategies relate to you, then it might be sparking something to go, hey, do I have that much clarity in my life? Or am I just throwing a dart to buy a property anywhere in Australia and fingers crossing it grows and grows well? Which is the wrong way to invest when it comes to building a portfolio. So what are those 6 strategies? The first one is an investor who are a couple, and this couple are in their 30s. The wife is in banking and financial services, an executive there. The husband's in tech sales. They have a child, and they're in this weird conundrum. This is something that Sydney-siders often face. Good income, starting a family, 30s, and all of a sudden, the homes are too expensive in Sydney. Not too expensive to get, but what they're after, what they want. And so you look at this thing, you go, do I just buy a stepping stone home? Do I go and rent? Or do I throw all my resources and budgets and get the best one I can and live in it for as long as possible, then one day upgrade? All of these are tough decisions to make. So how do you do that? You map out strategy. And in this particular case, this is what we did for a client. Now we take them back to 2020 when we started this mapping journey, and as you can see here, in 2020 we purchased them a property for $515K, then in 2021 $645, 2022 $625, and 2025 $575. And so when it comes to their portfolio, we've purchased them 4 properties across Brisbane, Adelaide, Regional Queensland, and Regional New South Wales. That's diversity across 3 different states, 4 different properties for a couple in their 30s. What does that mean? They actually went down the path of reinvesting after they've mapped the scenario out initially, which was, hey, we're going to put the buying our home, the ideal home to live in, for later. We're going to work hard, invest in property, and in this case, 4 properties, diversity across the country in high growth locations. And they ended up building an over $3 million portfolio with us, spread across these markets with over $1 million in equity achieved. This is not just from investing in property, this is from actually investing in the right strategy and using property as a tool with the right data. Now, as you can see here as well, we've used conservative 5% long-term growth mapping, even though their portfolio has done more than double that in terms of an annual average growth rate since when they started the journey with us. And so what we're looking at here is where will they be? Well, they set a passive income goal of 120K inflation adjusted, which means as the years go on, we're increasing that goal. But do they catch it? They do catch it. They actually meet their target in about 10 years from now. So how special of a feeling is that? That it's not even their overall income they'll achieve, because guess what? They also invest in shares separately, which we can't formally advise on. They also have their own superannuation, which again, they get their own advice on. But what we can guide them is on what property can potentially do for them. And so in this particular case, they didn't set up any fancy trust structures and corporate vehicles. They didn't set up anything that was going into this world of financial advice. They just bought 4 properties structured well across the country in diverse markets and high growth locations using research and data from Australia's #1 property advisory team, InvestorKit, to grow their portfolio. Now, doing that, they're in a position where property as an asset class has achieved their goal and all their shares in super is cherries on top. So imagine that, 5 hard years of investing focus. It reminds me of something my dad used to say to me: Arjun, work hard now like a donkey and live like a king later, or live like a king now and work the rest of your life hard as a donkey. But all I knew from hearing that was I wanted to have the rest of the life feel like a comfortable one, and know I want to go all in for the years that I had. It's exactly what this couple did. And so from that perspective, they were able to use this tool to know how hard they had to go for how long, and then know that the future, just using under long-term averages, not looking at past performance to rely on future growth, getting their own advice, looking at much more conservative numbers than all of that, and having different vehicles that they can have with other advisors to be able to grow their wealth, knowing that one of the vehicles still did a lot for them. What does this mean for them now? They're going to take that extra trip. They're going to go and probably put the extra scoop of gelato or extra upsize the meal, whatever you want to call it, or dessert in the 3-course and the set menu rather than a couple of things from the appetizers. Now, whatever you want to look at it from, it's giving you peace of mind. It's the weight off your shoulders. And in this case, they can revisit when to buy their home when it suits and know that they've got many, many years in front of them. I ask my clients this question all the time. Would you want to get the home you live in as this North Star goal? And then you're in your 50s and you're wondering, oh no, I better play catch up. I have to be aggressive and figure out all that you can do to be okay in your 60s. Or do you want to make those sacrifices in your 30s and in your 40s or even your 20s, just knowing that for those few years that you pushed hard to build a healthy portfolio, your future is in a much better position, and you can focus now on just one thing: finding the right home for you and your family from a place to live in that you can call yours long term. That's what almost all our clients choose, focusing on securing their future first before they secure anything else. And so this is just one of the scenarios. Now I'm going to give you a rush through the other scenarios so you can just see the same principle applied, but to different starting points, different positions. Let's go. Number 2 is you've got this gentleman here who's in their 20s. They don't have a very high income. They're not a couple. They're not a family that's been investing and saving for some time, and they'd purchased 2 properties already using our strategies and services. Those 2 properties gave them the growth from the first to get to the second, and now they're planning their third for this year. All affordable houses spread across the country using data. Now, not including their super and shares, in 30 years from now, they're still in their 50s. They don't even touch the 60s, and they're going to be very close to the goal that they've set themselves of circa 100K in inflation-adjusted passive income. Again, we've told them to go and get their own personalized and financial advice so they can look at other vehicles like super and like, shares or other things to consider in a more holistic plan. But the fact that property is doing so much of a heavy lifting for them, they're going to be comfortably over their numbers when they think of all the other things considered. But again, a different starting point, different purchase prices, different assets, different number of properties needed. Instead of 4, it's 3. Or if we go to this scenario, a couple in their 40s just wanting to make sure the 50s is the most pleasant. And they've been investing for over 2 decades. They're not high income earners. They're on a combined income of 120K plus. Not too much above that. And from that perspective, yes, if you look at it, as a singular income, that's great. But as a couple who've been investing and earning for that long, you can see it's just hard work, patience, and time over a long period. He's in the trades business, so from his perspective, he's not going up a major corporate ladder. He's not going up multiple chains and businesses. He's doing all the work himself for many, many decades, rolling up the sleeve and getting on with it, right? Now, in this particular case, people would think, well, you've got 8 or 9 properties, you've done so well, surely you can get to that next property. And in their mind, that's what they were thinking. I'm going to get to the next one, the next one, the next one. But we said, hold on a minute. Why not just sell all your properties and consider that? Have you spoken to a financial planner? Because if you just map this out and you sold everything, speak to an advisor, see what they think and how that could help your retirement. Instead, I was saying, should I get them their 3rd or 4th property with us, or should I just, stop now at 2? We didn't want to use our services to help them with more properties. We'd already purchased them 2 to add to their list, and they get to their goals. So I go and keep buying more and more properties. You're already there. If you just hold them for the next 4 or 5 years, by 2030s, they're in a position that they're set. And that's what they wanted to be, set by their 50s. All the assets, they get over $3.7 million in holdings, and they're able to use that holdings in other vehicles with formal financial planners, getting the right advice and being able to get ahead, noting that if they get 4.5%, 5% on their money, that's really putting them in the right direction. Now, this is advice that they're going to go and get now as a result of the trigger and the spark of the thinking. Or we go to a high-income professional on over $700K in household income combined. For them, property is really inconvenient, but they know they'd like a piece of it. They don't want a bunch of kitchens, roofs, and houses. For them, it's actually making sure they get ahead with the right assets. So after buying multiple residential properties to scale their portfolio and diversify it across Australia, we then moved on to commercial property this year to be able to add the final piece and get the right income-producing asset. They can let go of some of their residential properties, clear the debts on the commercial, and in 10 years from now, they could be in a position achieving their multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars of passive income, or in this case, over $250K, and be comfortable that they're going to meet that income not from working away at a very high-stress, high-performing corporate role. And so from their perspective, they feel good about that, noting that that's right in their horizon. And again, they're going to go and seek formal advice for other assets they have, whether it be shares or whether it be super, just to make sure they get holistic financial advice from the right professionals. But we're coming in purely from a property consideration in a general mapping scenario for them to go consider. Then if you move on to the next one here, Aussie expats based in Singapore who are basically going, wow, we've crushed it together for the last 3 assets. But again, we've got shares, we've got super, we've got these other things. We don't really want a whole bunch of houses to look at. We want to get the right asset now that's an income generator because we've bought them 3 high growth properties across Queensland, SA and WA. And so from this perspective, they're now transitioning to commercial property to seal the deal on the passive income and then move on from property as a whole. You'll see the most common thing amongst all our clients is that whilst we could buy 5 to 10, 10 plus, it's not about hype. It's not about seeking inspiration from social media. It's about just realizing that you could be a few moves away, especially if they're the right moves, without the expensive mistakes, with the right property and the right data to actually getting to your portfolio goals. And it's not something that needs to be 20 or 30 years away of buying properties continuously in a high stress, high debt environment. You're just sacrificing for those short 1, 3, or 5 years to be able to buy the right assets in the right succession to then go, okay, I've got the right assets needed for my future. What happens if you have the right team around you to actually give you that clarity? That's something that so many people are missing. In this particular case, this client here as well, same thing. They thought to themselves, well, we want to build a property portfolio, but how far do we want to take this? We don't want to take this too far. We've already had 3 phenomenal assets that we've purchased them in Queensland, Brisbane, and Adelaide. And so from that perspective, now we want to diversify to Victoria and New South Wales, 4 states, 5 properties, houses across different markets. And again, without including the shares of super, we reach their goal. But not only do we reach their income goal, but we also reach an asset goal of over $10 million, not including those other vehicles. This is the power of everything executed right. And this is the thing that happens when you work with the team who can get you there. Now, I can't sit here and say you're going to be able to work with us. And as you can see, there's a bit of complexity involved in any of these strategies that we're building. But what I can say is that for all 6 of these scenarios, it started with a free discovery call. Now, if you're having that free discovery call, you're going to get a bit of an idea of how we work, a little bit about your scenario. If it all makes sense, we'll then have a second call. And in that second call, we'll unpack everything and learn about you and your goals more deeply. And then from there, should we decide to work together, we'll be able to help you. But be mindful, there are limited spots each month simply because of the in-depth tailoring and focus that goes into building the right property plan. And so from that, reach out by booking a free consultation, click the link below, and we'll see you on the other side, but limited spots do apply.